heard by now, the bishop asked us to come up with a discipleship pathway thing. And so we've been working on this since 2015. And I have to admit, it was sometime this last fall when I looked at Sarah Malden and said, oh, I get it, finally. And so, but we would talk about pathways and pathways to God. And what I kept thinking about was the streets of heaven are lined with gold, and I thought of the pearly gates, and unfortunately that immediately made me think of Follow the Yellow Brick Road and Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, and I would think about how where they would stay on the path, things were going pretty well, but there were always these trees trying to attack them, and flying monkeys, and a witch that was remarkably like the devil, trying to get in their way as they're heading towards Oz, where they thought it was going to be their savior, which we know the real savior is Jesus Christ. And so then, but we would talk about how it's not a linear path, that you can go different directions on your path to God. And it made me think of Candyland, of all things, that if you've ever had a 5-year-old in your life, you know that you're going like this, and you may be all the way to Queen Frostine, and all of a sudden you drop, and you got a plumpy, and you're way back at the beginning. And so where you thought you've made all this progress, sometimes you haven't. And then maybe you're almost to the end, and you get stuck in the molasses swamp, and you're just stuck there for a while. And to me, that kind of kept thinking, it still seemed really relevant to the whole pathway. And then we were in a meeting, and we're trying to describe this whole thing to everyone. And I started thinking about getting from Cleburne to Fort Worth. And you think about there's all the ways you can go. You could walk it, you could ride your bike, you could drive a car, you can go the tollway and just get there immediately. You can go 174 and get stuck in every traffic light in Joshua and Burleson. You can go Old Betsy and get stuck by a train. You can go Alvarado and up 35. There's all these different ways that you can get to Fort Worth. And what we're trying to do is get from Cleburne, from First Methodist, to God. And so there's all these different ways to do it. And you may feel like in your own world that, gosh, when it talks about Bible studies, that's not your thing, and you're just walking or crawling through that. But when it comes to worship, maybe that's really who you are, and you are a roadster, speed car, zooming all the way. And then maybe there's something else, and you're on your bike, and you're pedaling and getting there. But the main thing about the way is that you can get there. And that's our goal, is to keep striving and moving one step at a time towards Jesus Christ. And so to me, that's what the way is. It's finding all these different things that we can do to make us better. And if we do all that, it'll make me better, it'll make individuals in our church better, and it will ultimately make our church as a whole better. And so I hope you'll join us in taking a step and following the way.